And the fact of the matter is, true, beautiful strength that's most attractive is not about looking like anybody else. It's about developing your own individual qualities and strengths.
We are about to launch.
What's up, everybody? Truth, not trends. Liam Bauer here at TNT Strength Headquarters, Oakland, California. This is the podcast where we help you maximize your strength
as safely and efficiently
as possible. Truth, not trends. Today, I had the pleasure of bringing back a guest friend, coach, and colleague, Matt Schifferle from the Red Delta Project. And we're going to find out all about what his definition is of beautiful strength. So look forward to that. But before we get into that, let's talk about some beautiful TNT supplements. That's right. At TNT Strength, we recommend a high protein whole food diet. But just in case you have any holes in your nutrition plan, we have 5 amazing nutrition supplements. We've got some probiotics, which are recommended and used daily by our sound engineer, Desmond Cappy McNeese. Good for that gut health. We have creatine monohydrate, the #1 performance-enhancing supplement, the most researched supplement on the planet. We have fish oil, of course, great for inflammation, anti-inflammation, I should say. All kinds of great benefits for getting a little omega-3s in the diet. Some K2D3 for those immunities, bone health, all that good stuff. And of course, how could we recommend a high-protein whole food diet without a little whey protein, chocolatey good? So check out those supplements at the TNT Strength store. And if you're out there wondering about how to build a great home gym, another thing to consider is the Inata Gym. Inata Gym makes smart gyms, these amazing computer-controlled strength training platforms. They have 3 different models. I highly recommend you check out their stuff. InataGym.com. It's INNODIGYM, Inata Gym. And if you use the code TAKU, TAKU, you can get 20% off any of the products in their store. So without further ado, please enjoy this episode of the Truth Not Trends podcast with Matt Schifferle from the Red Delta Project.
Boom, baby.
Matt Schifferle.
Yo, how's it going, Liam?
Good to see you, man.
Awesome. Very good.
What's happening? I'm excited to have you back and looking forward to whatever you're going to unveil.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me back onto your show.
Yeah, my pleasure.
It's good to catch up. Tell me about what's new in your world these days.
We've been doing a lot of, here at TNT, we've been doing a lot of little tiny tweaks. We added a bunch of logos around the studio recently. We painted, just kind of branding a little more. Made just a lot of little changes here and there. We actually have added some Inata Gym stuff, which I would love to talk to you about along the way, because I know you've played with them quite a bit. But just nothing super big. Business is going awesome. I mean, we're like, we rebuilt our website recently from the ground up, 100%.
Cool.
Our old website was just like a like a WordPress template that we just crammed stuff into.
Yeah.
But we hired a crew to build a brand new website from the ground up, 100% custom, and it's way better. And the SEO is way better, and we're just getting a lot better responses. So just little things, but yeah, business is good.
Excellent. Glad to hear it, my friend.
I think we brought on like 10 clients in the last month or something.
Wonderful. Outstanding.
Yeah. And what about you?
Things are kind of along the same idea. They were a little slower, but now they're starting to pick back up again, and they're a lot of fun and picking up business wise, but also just picking up ideas and productivity work wise. So lots of good things coming along when it comes to moving forward and bigger, better, faster, brighter future kind of stuff.
Yeah. And now I can't remember. Do you own a dedicated space of your own, or rent a space, or do you?
It's all contract work at this point.
When you say contract work, are you like paying rent at somebody else's place or anything like that, or do you just work at any?
Not so much. It's just commission based sort of training. Yeah. So it's nothing that
Yeah, I've done a lot of that stuff too.
It's one of those things that is a mutual beneficial kind of deal. I don't own anything, thank God, but for its pros and its cons. But at the same time, it's one of those things that means I don't have to worry about a whole bunch of all the headaches that come with ownership sometimes.
For sure. I mean, we don't actually own, but we rent a pretty big space, and definitely that's a large part of our monthly expenditure. Right, it's just the rent alone in Oakland.
Yeah,
Oakland is not a cheap city to live in.
yeah,
The Bay Area is one of the most expensive places in the country. So yeah, so I mean that's a giant part. I mean it's a beautiful space, but yeah, it's a lot different when you don't have to pay for all that overhead.
yeah. I have a new guy that I've been working with who owns a couple of Italian restaurants here in the area, and I was asking him about it, and he was like, "Yeah, it's really not that because you hear of restaurants just being an absolute nightmare business to run."
Sure.
And he was like, "No, I tell you, it's a hell of a lot easier when you own the building,
Yeah.
when you own the restaurant." And he's like, "That takes out a huge chunk of your overhead right there." So that was like, "Oh yeah, that's right," because I've heard that many times from business owners who are like, "If you've got brick and mortar, try to own the building."
Yeah.
That is such a big game changer.
Yeah, so we've got that in the back of our mind, for if we do any expansion, or if we, or even can we buy the building that we're in now, because
Yeah,
we have a single landlord who we have a good relationship with, but it'd be awesome. It'd be awesome if it was our building, or if we try to get another location. Will we be in a position where we can just actually buy a space versus renting another space?
yeah,
For sure.
it makes a big difference. Yeah,
I didn't realize, I saw something. This is probably something that everybody knows, but I didn't realize like McDonald's is evidently like one of the biggest landowners in the world, right?
yep.
And they actually own the land. And so that's part of how they make all their money, right? Is that they're just landlords, and people are not
Oh
just
yeah, totally.
renting.
If you ever see the movie The Founder, which is the Ray Kroc story, that was the whole thing. Was he was franchising the model, the restaurant model, like crazy, and yet he was out of capital. He was basically going broke, and he was kind of struggling. It's like, how am I struggling with all of these franchises? It's like that's because you don't own the land. You only own the restaurants, and
Yeah.
by the time everything gets through the labor and the materials and everything, you're barely making anything. So financial advisors were like, you don't want to own the restaurants. You want to own the land the restaurant is on.
Yeah.
And that changed everything about the whole model and why we have basically McDonald's the way we have it today.
Yeah. It's amazing. More power to them.
Yep. Yep. Because it's a weird thing. Like on one hand, like ownership has its cons, but I heard from I once read from someone who I follow who gives just general financial advice and everything like that. And he's like, at the end of the day, wealth is built from ownership. He's like, you can have all the talent in the world, but your ability to generate cash flow erodes if you can't exercise that talent,
Yeah.
or if that talent's no longer valued. You can have a great job, you can have all these things, but it's predicated on your ability to do the thing. It's like, but real true wealth that gets built up is, what do you own? Like, what are the things that you have? What are the stocks you own, the assets you own, the land you own, the ideas you own, the licenses you own, the intellectual property you own? He's like, what do you own?
Right.
It's like when you own something, that gives you the control that you can use for leverage.
For sure.
And that was like, it's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah. So I don't know. When we had talked offline, you had mentioned things you were working on. I don't know if you have stuff that you were hoping to tell me about, like unveil, so to speak.
Yeah,
Or
yeah. I've been working on my next program and book
nice.
for quite some time, but I've only been kind of trickling it out a little bit here and there. But the new program is called Beautiful Strength, and it's basically about utilizing calisthenics and fitness in general to just basically level up your attractiveness.
Oh, okay.
How to be more attractive,
Yeah, yeah.
which is kind of a weird thing in fitness, because
No, yeah.
it's one of those things that I think most people are going after, but at the same time, many of the ideas about basically training to look good naked and being like, I just want to get laid more. I just want to be more respected. I just want to have more respect for myself, right? these things are always kind of lurking more in the shadows of our fitness culture.
Yeah.
And you've experienced this too, where you talk about with a new client, half the time, like, I just want to be fit, I just want to be in shape, I want to be functional and stuff. But in the back of their mind is like, make me look like this Instagram model,
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to
Totally.
look good naked. The 22-year-old guy who's not an athlete coming to you for workout advice, and they're like, well, I just want to, be athletic and I want to be more fit. It's like, dude, you want to get laid more. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. I actually had that exact experience years ago, and I mean, literally, it unfolded exactly as you're describing. I was training a husband and wife team, and they wanted to give a gift to their son, and they wanted to buy some training for him. And he was a college kid, hadn't had any experience, and like always, you sit down and try to figure out what's your why, right? What are your goals?
Yeah.
And that exact thing, he was like hemming and hawing about it, and I just said, you want to look good naked. You're in college, right? And he was like, yeah, that's it.
I mean, when you're at that stage in your life, it's, get through your exams, eat, sleep, and get laid. Like, that's what your radar is about.
I've always tried to tell people that, aesthetic goals, in my opinion, are just as valid as any other goal, if not more so, right? Like,
if not for many people, more so.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, I want to run faster or jump higher or like whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah, we all want to look good, right? No matter how old you get. And that doesn't go away.
But the thing is, because there's kind of a stigma around that sort of thing, it's kind of lurking in the shadows a bit, which has caused all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
It opens up the door for a lot of scams. It opens up the door for a lot of, it's the same thing with money. A lot of people have trouble talking about money, and a lot of people have trouble expressing values and things and communicating about money and relationships and stuff, which is why so many problems exist. And when people come into the world of fitness, and being able to be more attractive is one of their primary motives for doing it, yet there's a lot of miscommunication out there. There's a lot of humming and hawing about it. And so basically, a lot of folks who come into it are just trying to navigate this minefield of scams and misinformation and misleading information. And a lot of it is just ideas that have been so prevalent in our fitness culture for so long, we don't even know it's wrong.
Yeah.
And, and as a result, that's why, even though training for aesthetics and trying to become more attractive is one of the most popular and prevalent reasons why people take to diet and exercise, it's also by far one of the most frustrating and least rewarding things out there.
I think maybe also what happens is people don't recognize that you can try to achieve those things in like a middle ground area. And what I mean is, like, they start to move in that way, and they think, well, I have to become a competitive physique athlete, right? Like, in order to get tan and dial in my nutrition and everything. It's like, no, you don't have to stand on stage in your board shorts. You know what I mean? You can still work on all those things for your own personal right stuff.
Yeah.
But people kind of go with that all or nothing, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm kind of going to the gym, or no, I'm going to become a bodybuilder, right? Like, there's a lot of space in between.
That's one of the biggest snares that people find themselves in when they're training for aesthetics, is they think that their ultimate success and worthwhile productivity is going to come from extremes. So if someone's like, I want to lose weight, so therefore I've got to get to be like shredded and single digit body fat and abs that you could grate cheese on. Or if someone's like, well, I want to build some muscle, so therefore I need to look like a bodybuilder, and I need to be able to have this world-class athleticism and stuff. And the fact of the matter is, when it comes to attractive appeal in most areas of life, extremes actually repel more than they attract.
Yeah, and I would concur with that.
Yeah, you see the extremes on social media and in movies and things like that, and it's really impressive in media. But often when you come in contact with it in real life, a lot of times it's kind of like, it's kind of an uncanny valley thing going on, where there's something subconsciously that makes people go like, I'm not so sure about that right now. And so that's why a lot of times when you find people who do have the highest levels of like attractiveness in fitness, they're not at the extremes. They don't have the ripped, shredded abs. They don't have bodybuilder like muscle. They don't have world class performance. They have a higher level than average, but they're not at a level where the extreme is coveted. Because as I explore elsewhere in the program, going after the extremes and optimizing this and making this maximizing that is actually in many ways unattractive to the majority of people. And I liken it, I always use car analogies. It's kind of like having, a bright, hot pink Ferrari that shoots flames out of the back and has a disco ball in the interior, right? It's super flashy. It's super like, holy smokes, you're going to attract a lot of attention. But for the majority of people, that's not going to attract them. It's just attention for attention's sake. And only a percentage of people is going to look at that and say, that's awesome. And the majority of people are going to look at it and be like, what the F and like, kind of thing.
Totally.
And when it comes to building attractiveness in fitness, you don't want things that hit people upside the head with extremes, but rather something that it's much more subliminal, where you walk into a party or you take your shirt off on the pool and someone just looks at it and like, there's something about that. I don't know what it is, but boy, that they've got it. I don't know what it is, but they've got it, kind of thing. That's where the attractiveness really lies, is that deep, primal, subliminal lizard brain attraction that we're going after, not the stuff that you thought was really cool by watching Saturday morning cartoons when you were a little kid with everyone with bulging muscles and, Barbie doll proportions.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know about you personally, but I mean, for me, having gone through this journey, right? Like I'm in my 36th year in the industry. When I first started out, like a lot of young guys, I did go through that phase, where how huge can I get? You know what I mean? And like, do I need to get on drugs? I mean, I went through all those little phases, right? Like,
yep.
Do I want to be a bodybuilding guy? And then, quickly I was just like, why am I even thinking about this stuff? Like, why does it matter? I was like a soccer player when I was like, how can I be a better soccer player? Like a little bit of muscle made a big difference. You know what I mean? I didn't have to look like I could deadlift 500 pounds, but yeah, you do start to see yourself through those weird lenses. And this was pre-social media for me. So you still start to do it to yourself. You're looking at muscle magazines and you start comparing yourself. You're like, I don't look like that guy. I can't bench press 400 pounds. Like, is there something wrong with me? Right?
Yep.
Rather than going, well, when I started, I could only do 80 pounds and now I can do 150 pounds. Like, I've made progress, right? You don't remember that part.
Yeah.
You just go, I'm not doing 400 yet, so I still suck.
Exactly. And that's such a thief of your own personal joy, but it's also compromising, as I call your beautiful strength. It's strength in so many facets that is attractive. It attracts the attention of people in your circle. It's not so much just the fact that it probably doesn't need to be an extreme, which means that development of the physique for the sake of attractiveness is much more in the realm of possibility for far more people. It's also the fact that it's not about conformity either. So a lot of times you might see someone on social media, or you've probably experienced this as a coach. Someone comes into the gym and they hold up an example of some celebrity or someone they found on social media, and they're like, make me look like this guy. Like, I want that body. I want this kind of body. And the fact of the matter is, true, beautiful strength that's most attractive is not about looking like anybody else. It's about developing your own individual qualities and strengths. And you can see this played out throughout media in what is truly coveted. Is you'll see different celebrities, different models, different physiques. And it's like, okay, these two people don't look anything alike, and yet they both occupy this space where they have a coveted physique of, that's impressive, that's really cool, that's really something that is inspiring. And yet one person weighs 140 pounds, the next person still has a decent amount of belly fat about them, or this person is very tall, that's short. There's no like universal ideal figure.
Sure.
It's ownership over your own personal abilities, and not conforming, but enhancing and bringing about better qualities that you naturally inherently have.
Yeah. So now in putting together this is it gonna be like a book? Is it gonna be like a program? Is it gonna be a combination of, sources like, video, audio, whatever?
Yep. Well, I'm always putting everything out. Everything out that I've ever put in my books is always on all of my other sources of my YouTube videos and my podcasts and everything like that. So everything that's in the books, I always give away for free on everything. It's just good luck compiling it all together into a comprehensive system. So the book compiles it all together. Plus, with this book, it's going to have a collection of video resources, exclusive videos that you can't get anywhere else that will guide you step by step through everything as well. So if you like to learn through video, it's there. If you like to learn through audio, it's there. If you like to learn through just print and reading, it's there.
Nice.
So it's a much more comprehensive program utilizing multiple aspects of media to make sure you can understand the lessons that are with this, because these are the lessons that can totally transform not only your body but your entire life.
And based on, what I know of your other work, I imagine it's got very simple methodology involved as far as the tools that are recommended, or like you said, calisthenics.
Yep.
And and also I imagine some kind of isometric stuff, perhaps.
Yep. It's calisthenics based because the root words calisthenics derive from the Greek kalos and stenos, which means beautiful strength. So calisthenics in its roots means beautiful strength. That's where it comes from.
Awesome.
And so it was inspired by that lesson. And it's kind of interesting that I'm writing this book because, from the longest time, I've always kind of been more of a go versus show kind of guy. But the fact of the matter is, like I said before, there's so many pitfalls and so many misdirective ideas and stuff in our fitness culture that lead people down dead ends and lead people astray, that it really is hard to get a bead on how in the world do you use fitness to be attractive? Because most conventional ways of approaching diet and exercise will actually compromise that beautiful strength rather than enhance it, for several reasons, like I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, I think a lot of times what happens as well, and you probably found this, is that, unfortunately, is even well-meaning coaches, who have some knowledge and experience are often get stuck, viewing everything through like their lens of preference, right? So everybody that walks through the door needs to become a power lifter, or everybody who walks through the door needs to use kettlebells or whatever, right? And they get stuck in that thing. And it's like, if you didn't come in there ready to be those things, they're like, oh, I can't work with you.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to do a deadlift, then well, you're certainly not going to be successful. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of coaches out there. I mean, I see it all the time. And, like, that's why one of the things with us at TNT, we like to say that we're like tool agnostic, right? And we have a little bit of every tool you can imagine. And we don't care which one you like or don't like, and we'll figure it out as we go, and then we'll build it around, part of what we want to do is create programming that has people's preferences in mind, right? Like, it has to take into account needs, goals, abilities, preferences, injuries, all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying earlier, though, there's a lot of pitfalls that people can so easily fall into. I feel like navigating our way through the diet and exercise landscape to build the attractiveness you want is like trying to tiptoe around minefields. Like I said, a lot of times we fall into the trap of going to extremes. Like, I got to be a bodybuilder. I got to have the body of a fashion model, or I got to have massive changes in my body in order to be attractive. And that's not true. Second of all is thinking that you've got to conform to some sort of ideal, which 9 times out of 10, that ideal is just in our own head. You ask 100 people what the perfect body is, you're going to get 100 different answers kind of idea. So it's not about looking like or trying to conform to any sort of fictional idea. It's about being your best self. Dear listener, like, no one wants another Dwayne Johnson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, trying to think of like individuals, you know what I'm saying? They want better versions of you. Okay.
Sure.
What you are, we want you. And the way that you develop your beautiful strength is, first and foremost, is ownership over your own thing. Because one of the characteristics of beautiful strength is not only just not conforming, but doing things your own way, a sense of independence and discipline. Because you'll always notice that the individuals who have this attractive appeal about them that, again, it's subliminal. It's like there's something about them. I just like that, that they are very sure footed in their own ways. They're not saying, screw the world, I'm doing the lone wolf thing kind of thing. No, nor are they saying, okay, I'll just do and conform with whatever ideas are out there. They're like, look, I've learned what's best for me, and even though Beautiful Strength is calisthenics based, I make all the points in the book to make sure people understand that Beautiful Strength is not contingent upon any particular type of training method. Like if you came to me and you're like, I want to improve my beautiful strength, but calisthenics is the last thing I want to do. I'm like, well, then we won't do calisthenics. Like we've got 20 different ways of doing this. There's no good reason to force yourself to do a training or a diet methodology that doesn't fit your resources and preferences. So usually those who are developing their physique and they're like, oh, wow, they're really impressive and stuff, they've learned just what their own path is. And will you build a body like that doing their path? Absolutely not. Can you learn from it? Sure. But your best results are going to come from you creating your best path for yourself. And that, again, goes against a lot of stuff out there in our fitness culture where it's like, ignore your body, ignore your preferences, ignore what you want to do. You've got to conform. You have to follow the program. But I hate Greek yogurt. Shut up. Just choke it down kind of thing. Yeah, I hate doing push-ups. Oh, look at the baby crybaby over here. Doesn't want to do push-ups. You got to do your push-ups. No, you don't.
Yeah.
The folks who develop the most aesthetic benefit of things are the ones who will take options and be like, I don't like this, but I like that. So I'll do that. And someone else will be like, but you should be doing this. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me kind of thing. You do your own thing. You walk your own path and you hold your head up high. And that is a very attractive trait to have, not only in fitness, but in life in general.
Sure. Is there a nutrition component as well to your?
Absolutely. You've got to have nutrition with things.
Sure.
Living your best attractive life is going to have to utilize food in a good way. And again, this is an area where people run astray because there's a lot of rhetoric in our fitness culture saying, if you eat these foods, you develop this kind of body,
right,
which is just flat out wrong. Okay. There is no such thing as a diet that's going to decrease belly fat. There is no food that's going to make your arms bigger or give you the shapely thighs that you see on that fashion model. The connection between, diet and a particular aesthetic is not direct in any way. So if you're looking for that direct cause and effect, you're always going to be hunting for it because it just doesn't exist. But diet does play a very big role in many different ways. It's not a direct cause of anything, but it does play a big influence in all of the aspects of developing a stronger body, mind, and lifestyle. And so we have to use food in a very helpful, good way. And that's the point, is to use it in a healthy way. But most of our diet culture does not encourage that. Most of the ideas out there are all about kind of fighting food, demonizing food, avoiding food, or mistrusting food. And there's a whole bunch of negative rhetoric with that.
Yeah, good foods, bad foods.
Doesn't help. Exactly. That does not help. One of the big reasons why I'm also making this program is that there is a stigma. I don't know if you've experienced this much yourself, Liam, but there is a stigma that I have long come across where people who are not really into fitness will kind of place some negative stereotypes on fitness guys like myself, where a lot of that is food based. I have a very good friend out here in Denver, and when I moved back out here, she introduced me to her whole social circle. And every time I was meeting like a group of these friends, I was very much aware of this kind of chill in the room that people would give me, knowing because, my friend would be like, oh, you're going to meet my trainer and my trainer's great and he's a great guy and we're going to have fun and everything. And I can't tell you how many times people are like, oh, great. Your personal trainer? Really? Oh, this guy's going to be a lot of fun at parties. This is the last person I want to go and be social with. They're going to judge my body. They're going to judge my food. They're going to bring their damn chicken and rice in Tupperware containers while we're all eating cheeseburgers and beers. This is like, it almost was like I had this social stigma about it. So when I would come in the door and they'd be like, oh, looks like you brought your cooler. Like, what did you bring? And I was like, well, I brought dessert. I'm like, oh, what's dessert? Just nothing but strawberries and kale. I'm like, no, Ben and Jerry's,
Yeah.
duh. And you just feel the ice melt out of people's disposition towards me because they're like, wait a minute, you drink beer? Wait a minute, you're like us. You eat normal food, and you're not. And sometimes we would get a little bit looser in our conversation. I'm like, dude, I don't give a damn if you've got a little extra belly fat or if you've got some love handles. Like some of the most attractive women I've ever known, have curves to them, and they'd be like, what? And it was all about I had to melt that stigma first. And so a lot of beautiful strength comes from recognizing that, again, it's not the extremes. It's not the extremes in diet. Like, I don't follow a diet. I encourage most people not to when it comes to these sorts of ideas, because a lot of times conventional fitness methods go along those ideas that gave me the negative stigma. And so it doesn't matter. That's one of the biggest ideas in the book, is that it doesn't matter if you get the body of your dreams. It doesn't matter if you've got the perfect body on Instagram. I've experienced, and I've seen it so many times, where people will pursue aesthetic beauty for the sake of attractiveness, achieve it successfully. They'll have a very impressive physique, only to find out that the attitudes they have and the stigma and the lifestyle and the mental perspectives that they've had to adopt in order to achieve that body are also carrying a unattractive, like, fog around them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we've heard this idea of like the dad bod, right? Why did the dad bod become a thing? Because there were legitimately people out there who are like, dude, I don't want to date a Greek statue because all they're going to care about is eating right and exercise. I want to go and out to a date where someone can get a little bit drunk and eat cheeseburgers, kind of thing. And the idea with beautiful strength is that we've often been taught in our fitness culture, it's like, well, you either have a fit lifestyle where you eat chicken and kale and go to bed at 7:30 and live your life in the gym, or you have a fun life and be more carefree, but you're going to look like crap.
Right.
And beautiful strength is like, no, you can have both. In fact, it's easier to get both, because the healthier your lifestyle is, the more fun you're going to have, the better your body's going to look, and the more you avoid all of those negative stigmas that come with it. So suddenly you go from, oh, great, look, we're here at the pool. He's got abs. I bet he spends his life in the gym and he can't possibly eat anything over 3 grams of sugar, kind of thing. And then suddenly it's like, wait a minute, you have like a normal food. You eat normal diet. Oh, wait, hold on. But you still have those abs. Oh, hi, kind of thing. And there's this idea out there of like a casual success versus super high maintenance about it.
So how far along are you with your sort of development of this whole system?
It's constantly being developed. It's one of these things. I always feel like I'm about 3 or 4 weeks away from finishing it, and I've been about 3 or 4 weeks away from it for the past 9 months.
Yeah.
So
I've actually been tinkering with a book that I've been working on probably for more like 5 years, and it's like sits in my computer, and I go in and rewrite a paragraph or change a chapter around or reassess something. And it's been in its general sort of status for a long time, but I'm always like going back in and tinkering and never actually doing anything with it. It's just like it's like an old car in the garage that you're always working on, but you never actually take it for a drive.
Yeah, some books are like that. Other books just come together. My quickest book that I ever wrote, Grind Style Calisthenics, came together in 2 months.
Yeah.
So it was just, something that just flowed from start to finish. But this has been a really hard one. I can't tell you how many times I've written the first several chapters and then realized I was going about it the wrong way and just scrapped the whole thing and started over from scratch. I've done that probably 5-6 times now. But now I think I'm on the good side, which is why I'm talking about the program more, because I really feel like this is going to be coming out before the end of the year.
Sure. Awesome.
Hey, what are those guys doing here? Whenever I feel like I'm stalling out on my bench press, I know I need a new strength curve.
Whether you're stalling out on the road or stalling out in the gym, you need something with great engineering.
That's right. And
So look for the pendulum. Pendulum.
Not just your average strength machines.
No, they have smooth strength curves.
Amazing rigidity.
And did we mention the engineering's fantastic?
That's right. Not to mention, they come in cool colors.
Like red.
And silver. That was kind of weird. What was that all about? Back to the interview.
I know you have your YouTube stuff, which is kind of seems like a very successful kind of platform for you. And but
Mhm.
do you have like a main website where people can get your products and stuff as
Oh
well?
yeah, it's everything reddeltaproject.com. Everything I do and have and offer and stuff is reddeltaproject.com. Just go there, you'll find everything.
Got it. Awesome. Yeah, because I see a lot of your stuff out there. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I would love to talk a little bit about the Anata Gym stuff, just from your and to hear your own perspectives, because I've been playing around with them recently, and I got my hands on both one of the lighter one, the P1 Lite, the sort of smallest one they make, but also the P1 Max, like the biggest one they make. And I really love it, especially the bigger one. The P1 Max, has like 300 plus pounds of resistance,
Yeah.
and it has the Bluetooth buttons on the handles and the bars and all that stuff.
Yeah, that is such a nice thing.
Oh my God, I've really found it to be a super good tool. I actually put it in my house, the P1 Max, and use it as like my home gym. And I actually found myself playing with it much more than a lot of other toys that I've had, just because that feature alone is so awesome to be able to like do something to failure and literally just touch the button and be able to bail out.
Do you have the bench with it?
Yeah, I got the bench as well.
See, I missed out on the bench when I was using it, but chest presses alone with that thing are just, oh, they're absolutely heaven. They are so nice to have that Bluetooth functionality to it. The chain loading, I found personally, deadlift and chest presses on the chain mode for that thing were just the absolute saving grace for the joints. They felt so good to use that it was like, oh my gosh, this is like how a lot of resistance training should feel.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, I was surprised at how quiet it is, how smooth it is, how responsive it was. Like I said, with the Bluetooth, I mean, for me, there was no lag. It's just like, bam. The only thing that I found the learning curve for me is like I would do standing shoulder presses and you're under load and you hit the button and you like punch yourself in the chin
Yeah.
because suddenly there's no weight. You're like, I'm like, bam. I'm like, oh man, I gotta be
Yep.
ready for this.
It's kind of like lifting that suitcase you think is full, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh.
But like back squats with the extension straps, make it really nice because it's almost like having those spotters, right? You can get down deep, and if you need to bail, you just, you suddenly there's no resistance at all either way with the button or the strap. So yeah, I found that the bench is very well made. It's very sturdy. It adjusts really well. You can store all that stuff inside it. So yeah, it's a nice setup. So I'm finding myself, when people are looking for home gym setups, assuming the budget is there. I mean, it doesn't take up a lot of space.
Yeah, that electronic resistance stuff. It's so funny how like out here I've had a lot of trouble with traction and getting people interested in it, and it's so frustrating because it's like I really think it's just the way to do things in so many as far as strength training goes. The versatility it offers, it's just so much benefit to it, and I feel like people just don't quite see it yet, but it's really on the next level.
Do you think it's because like they're not actually, loading plates or seeing the weights go up and down, or
I think so. This is the big challenge that we face with equipment, but also again, circling back to beautiful strength, is that the program of developing beautiful strength, like with using electronic stuff, is you have to almost have a bit of a mental, more importantly, an emotional reset on what you think diet and exercise is for it to be effective. Because right now, our fitness culture here in the Western world is really actually very new. If you take a look at other sciences like chemistry, astronomy, biology, and stuff, these are disciplines that human beings have been studying for centuries. Now, you think of Galileo discovering the moons of Jupiter, right? That was so long ago, right? And yet, fitness as a disciplined science is so incredibly new that I remember one time meeting a guy when I lived in Vermont, and he was like the first marathon runner ever in the state of Vermont. Like, not to win, just the first marathon, the pioneers of fitness as we know it. Many of them are still alive.
right?
Okay? Galileo is not alive anymore. Sir Isaac Newton is long dead and gone, but many of the pioneers who have developed the way we perceive diet and exercise and how it works and what we do for it. It's not even a generation old. So why we have trouble when we look at the Nota Gym and we're like, but it's not weights, but it's not, cardio. It's so out of step with what we're used to. We have trouble appreciating it for what it is. And that's the same thing with developing beautiful strength. In order to do that, we've got to hit a bit of a mental and emotional reset of what do you think diet and exercise is actually supposed to do for the body? And I address that in one of the chapters in the book of, okay, here's this book, here's this program all about helping you look your best using diet and exercise. Lesson number 1, diet and exercise is not at all a reliable way to look good. It's not supposed to change how your body looks to a very large degree.
Yeah.
If you're doing bicep curls, those bicep curls in no way, shape, or form have any responsibility to make your arms look better ever.
Right.
If you're doing that diet, that diet is in no way, shape, or form telling your body to get leaner. No diet is.
Yeah. Early in my career, I went and made that other mistake that many people make, kind of touching back on things we've addressed, in that, the routine that you used was the most important thing, like which exercise and the sequencing, right? And I literally, as a beginner, brand new to the lifting game, I had this notebook and I was constantly like copying the workouts out of the magazines, right? And I'm like, should I be doing incline bench first or decline bench first? And I would get hung up on like, one of these times I'm going to find the exact sequence that is the perfect thing that's going to make me achieve my goals. And it was literally, had a notebook filled with workouts. It doesn't matter, of course, we all know this now, but I mean, at the time I'm looking for that perfect sequence, that perfect thing. And, it's so funny that you go through that. Same thing with the nutrition, but, same thing with the tools, right? Is the barbell better? Is the dumbbell better? Is this electric thing better? Right. Looking for that. And then you learn later, right? It doesn't matter what the sequence is. Like, so do you know Stuart McRobert? He wrote Brawn. There's a book called Brawn.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
It's a great book, but it's funny because he wrote this really brilliant book about strength training. And when you open it up, I literally picked it up in the bookstore and I skipped ahead to the part that actually had workouts in it. And you open that chapter and it goes, did you skip to this chapter? Go back and read the rest of the book, right? He's like, the workouts are not important. It literally says that in the book. And I'm like, oh, he's like, don't do that. Go back and read the book and worry about it. And I was like, this guy is awesome,
Oh, that's beautiful. I like that.
Because that's what you do, right? You think the workout is magic and it just doesn't matter, right? I mean, we all know it's a tweakable thing that has
yep.
And it has an effect on the outcome, but it's not the important part.
Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest thing is the reason why I mentioned in that chapter, it's like the whole idea of using diet and exercise to look better naked is largely a marketing ploy. It doesn't have nearly as much logic, scientific validity to it as we would like to think. To a large degree, I mean, if you went back far enough in our fitness culture and you told coaches, I want to lift weights to look good in a bathing suit, they would have laughed you out of the gym. You'd be like, what the heck is wrong with you? This is ridiculous kind of thing. And, the idea that if I lift the weights, I'm going to look jacked and sexy and attractive. And if I do the right diet, I'll have abs and everything. These ideas are largely the product of marketing, not actual scientific validity. And it can be frustrating to read that in a book that's all about helping you look good naked. But the reason why I put that chapter in at the beginning of the book is it's like, we got to clear out a lot of the fluff and the trash and the garbage that has led you astray in all of these endeavors up to this point. And we have to start with a clean slate of like, all right, so what does diet and exercise actually do to the body? Why does the body adapt to diet and exercise? Then understanding those principles, now we can use those principles to build the body you want. Because you're not going to build the body you want with the right workout routine. You're just not. If you're like, I tried everything, nothing works. Yeah, that's because what you're trying doesn't matter that much. You're not going to lose weight because you have the right diet. You might lose some weight. It might be temporary, but the body you want to build, that respect you want for yourself and from others, from having that aesthetic beauty, that beautiful strength, that attractiveness, that's not going to come from your workout routine. It's not going to come from your diet. And even though there's routines and things like that in the book, absolutely, that's not what's going to get you the results you want. So as long as you're trying to like, what's the routine that's going to make me look like Captain America? You're always going to be frustrated with hit and miss approach because that's not what's responsible for making your body look a different way.
Yeah, I agree with you, but sadly, we both know that we could probably write a book that said, look like Captain America, and put some good pictures in there, and probably sell that book pretty quickly.
Even Captain America doesn't look like that because of his routine.
Yeah, right. I mean, you said earlier, like, you have 100 different people, and you ask them that question about what's the perfect thing, you get 100 answers.
Yeah.
I use that example a lot with coaches when, they're trying to debate me about, which tool is better or whatever. I use a similar idea, and I say, if we take 100 different people and we put them on the exact same workout and diet, we're going to get 100 different outcomes, right?
Yep.
There isn't one diet and workout that's going to make everybody look the same.
Right.
Never been that way. And there's too many variations in our genetics, in our personalities, so much stuff, right? I mean, on a base level, we're all humans with skeletons and hearts and lungs, but there's too many other variables that mean we're never going to do the exact, like if you and me weigh the same and we're even the same age and all that, it doesn't mean that we're going to bench press the same or squat the same or jump the same, right? That's why it never makes sense to compare yourself to anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. And that's why the conformity compromises your beautiful, beautiful strength, because we are different. We're supposed to be different. We're supposed to have our unique qualities, attributes, and characteristics. And the more you're trying to conform to be like somebody else, the more you're actually inhibiting the very characteristics that make you, quote, beautiful, attractive. It's like, well, this person can run marathons, and isn't that awesome? It's like, well, yeah, but you could be really great at rock climbing. If you try to be a marathon runner and you hate running marathons and it makes you miserable, that's not going to really help you level yourself up a whole lot. But if you're in your mind, you're thinking, well, marathon running is the best way to get the world's perfect body or get as lean as possible or whatever. Now you're following along some sort of a rule rather than what's actually going to help you lead your independent, disciplined life.
Yeah, totally. It's funny. One of the things I try to get people to understand is that, I often find myself telling people, like, if you meet a coach, and they seem to have like a definitive answer for every question you ask them, then you should probably just leave, because I go, the real answer most of the time is it depends. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's like if they just go, oh, it's that. You're not eating enough broccoli. You're not deadlifting. You know what I mean? Yeah. Then you should probably just walk away, because there's no such thing as somebody that just knows all the answers to all the problems every single time you walk in the door. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Way too much variability. I like a lot of this idea of what you're mentioning, so people can learn to sort of embrace and appreciate their individuality and be the best version of themselves, right? And that's all that matters.
Absolutely. And that gives you so much freedom too. Like, we're talking about a Noti gym, electronic resistance machines. And so a lot of people don't know right now that that's the next thing that they're going to discover that totally changes the game for them. When I started using those things, I was like, this is really going to be a big game changer for a lot of people, because the way that it works, the way the body interacts with it. Now, at the end of the day, it's just variable resistance, which is all that's necessary for you to build muscle and strength. It's just variable resistance. Does that have it? Yes, good. Okay, it can work. It's effective. But how it's applied and the way it interacts with you and everything like that, it's like a lot of people are really going to like this. And I really enjoyed using it too. And that's the reason why you should do it. Not because, is it effective? Well, let's see. Variable resistance? Yep. Check. Okay, good. It's effective. That's the only requirement necessary. Everything else is all about personal preference and desire. Like, I don't know why. I just love the way this feels. And it's like, great. That's more than enough reason to do it.
Absolutely. No, I agree 100%. But what's cool about it, like you mentioned, is one of the coolest things is that it can replicate multiple modes, right? Like the way that you mentioned the chain mode, which is like similar to a resistance band, right? The more you pull, the more it fights you. Or the eccentric mode, where it can like overload the negative, right? And just having those things available at the touch of a button, literally, versus, you can't do negatives with barbells unless someone slaps on extra weight real quick and helps you lift it to the top and then you lower it, right? There's way more going on. And, as well as I do, because, I know you spend a lot of time working with bands, with, isometric stuff. Obviously, the tool is, again, as I said, is irrelevant. Like one of the strongest guys we have in the gym, and I probably mentioned him last time you and I spoke, he only works out with bands 99% of the time. And he's strong. He's stronger than everyone else. He comes in and plays with the weights about once a month just for fun, and he can outlift everybody. And he doesn't lift weights. It's, and that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that he's using bands. He's genetically free, and he works hard and he rests effectively.
And he knows what he's doing. He's got good coaching.
Yeah. And so when he comes in here, like we have to add weight. Like he can do like 250-pound lat pull down with one arm at a time. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's like, I jokingly say he's like a James Bond villain. You know what I mean? He's just like, but again, people say you can't get strong using rubber bands. I beg to differ.
Yeah. You can get strong using anything as long as, again, it's got variable resistance. That's the only real requirement. And you know how to use it well. Because 9 times out of 10, the ability to get a result hinges upon more of the lifter rather than what they're lifting.
Exactly.
So if you know what you're using, how to use what you're using, you can make amazing things happen. And if you don't, well, doesn't matter if you've got an OD gym or bands or barbells or calisthenics, you're always going to be kind of having a hard time with it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to one of my clients today, and she was having a little light bulb moment about that because all of our clients obviously learn to work hard as they spend time with us, and they learn to recognize that that's like one of the most important factors, if not the most important thing. And she was having this little light bulb about, I see people go to the gym and they do lots and lots of sets, and but they're not really, nothing's really happening. And I go, yeah, because not one of those sets did they actually work hard. They did 10, they put it down. They did 10, they put it down. They did 10, they put it down.
They're scrolling on their phone half the time.
I said, it doesn't matter. They could do 10 times 10 or 1 times 10. But if it's not hard somewhere in that, if they didn't do any work that was challenging, it doesn't matter. They're just spinning their wheels, right? I used to say they're just heating up the room, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't work.
As I always say, the body wants to change. We've got these ideas in our fitness culture that the body is resistant to change, which is not at all true. We have amazing adaptive ability as human beings. That's why fitness works in the first place. So your body is chomping at the bit to change. It wants to change. It just needs a good reason to do so. It just needs a good motivation to do so. And oftentimes it's not the body that resists change. It's our mind or even our heart that resists into it. Because ultimately the body is driven by our nervous system. Our nervous system is driven by, a lot of times, our emotional state. So if our emotional state and our mental state is resistant to change, well, where's the driving force coming from for your body to change? And so recognizing these ideas of, no, you don't have to do it that way. And yes, you can do the things you want to do. And yes, you can do things that you have a preference for. Now we're putting you in a much more positive emotional and mental state, which then has the big domino effect of you can make your body do amazing things and the adaptation just comes automatically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fantastic. It's great stuff. I think it's going to be, it could really be beneficial for people to get their hands on this stuff. And hopefully you'll find a way to spread the word.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And do you have a lot of repeat business, with your books and, packages and so forth? And people get they find you, they realize this guy's stuff speaks to me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
I've got packages of the books for sale on my website, in fact, in the PDFs, where you can buy several of them at a time for a discounted price. So more and more people are coming to me saying, okay, so here's what I'm roughly doing. And I've got these books of yours. And it's always like 2 or 3 books at least. So a lot of times, and they're all made to build off of each other. You're not going to have like one book or program that says, do it this way. And then another book or program says, do it the opposite way. It's all made to fit together into the big piecework and interchangeable exercises and interchangeable methods and stuff. So again, you have the tools to do things your own way. I don't want to tell you how to work out or eat. That's your responsibility to figure out. I'm here to guide you, but ultimately you're the one who's supposed to be steering your own ship. I'm just here to give you ideas and guidance, but I'm sure as hell not don't have any intention of telling you do it this way because
It's almost like choose your own adventure. One of those. Yeah, one of those.
it's supposed to be because that's how it actually works. If I was like, here's the program, force yourself to follow it, it could even work great for some time, but eventually it doesn't. Eventually it does not work. I could give you the most detailed instructions on how to get to the airport. Drive exactly this speed, stay in this lane, take this left, take that right, and everything. And that will work great. But the second one thing changes in life, which inevitably does happen, traffic gets heavier, there's snow on the ground, there's a detour, there's construction, you move and you're now in a different location where you're starting, right? There's a million reasons why those instructions won't really work that well anymore. And that's why we have to have again, a big part of beautiful strength is independence and discipline of doing things your own way, calling your own shots and not feeling like you have to be dependent upon an obedient system that's going to lead you by the hand all the time because it's not their call to make, it's yours.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I'm smiling because I'm just remembering times when I tried to follow, these rigid, bodybuilding type nutrition plans, where like I literally ate, boiled chicken and, steamed broccoli and like no flavors. And for whatever reason, you weren't supposed to put anything on anything. You know what I mean? So like nothing tasted good. And I was eating, a plain baked potato and, you know what I mean? Just like plain. And I can remember sticking with this for months, and obviously having some success, right? Like, as you said,
Mm-hmm.
just in a certain way, but also like not enjoying myself. And for whatever reason, the hardest thing to eat every day for me and was a plain baked potato. I don't know why, but just like choking down a plain baked potato like every single day at lunchtime became like the worst chore, but it was part of the plan, like I had to eat this plain baked potato because that's what they said was important, and I was just choking down plain rice and plain chicken and plain potatoes, and I would literally go to sleep and like dream about food at night, and like I'd wake up thinking, oh my God, I ate some Captain Crunch. I ruined my diet, And yeah, it's just not, it just doesn't work. Like you said, right. It doesn't matter. Like maybe for the short term.
Yeah.
And some of those people, that's what they do, right? These physique athletes, they get their Tupperware and weigh everything and dial it in. But even those guys, they don't do that year round, they have a contest prep, maybe they're going for a few months, right? But you better believe they're like, when they're done, even like Lee Haney and these bodybuilder guys, as soon as they get off the stage, they're eating ice cream and pizza. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They can't wait. Yeah.
I once there was a guy back home in Vermont who is a quote natural bodybuilder, although you look at the guy and it's like there's no way that's natural. But I remember talking to him one time shortly after a contest. It was like a Thursday and he had done the contest on Sunday or something like that. And I was like, so, how did you celebrate? Do you come off your diet kind of thing slowly, gradually? I was like, nope, stepped off stage, drove home and had 4 pints of Ben & Jerry's waiting for me in the freezer. And I ate every single one of them in a row. He's like, I gained 20 pounds in 3 days. He's like, yep. And he's like, I regret nothing, kind of thing.
That becomes part of their life, some of those guys.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, again, when we look at individuals and are like, oh, that's their diet, that's their workout, we think we're getting a complete picture, and it's the furthest thing from it. It's like, no, you're not. Like you get these. I was talking with another friend of mine the other day, and he was saying how he kind of was a little disillusioned about this guy who was like a kettlebell guy, and he's like, his physique was amazing, it's so impressive, and he's like, here I am thinking all he does is kettlebell work, so I'm doing his kettlebell programs and all these things, and I'm loving the results and everything. But, I really wasn't developing my chest very much, but this guy had an amazing chest. So I wrote him an email and I was like, so what are you getting your chest involved more with, like the Turkish get up and everything? And the guy's like, no, dude, I like bench press 3 times a week. And the guy's like, what? And he's like, oh yeah. I do a lot more than kettlebell stuff. I'm, bench pressing. I go, running. I've got this weight machine routine I do every once in a while if I'm bored. And the guy's like, oh, like here he is thinking he's some kettlebell purist. And the guy's like, I never said any of that. It's like, no, I'm lifting barbells, for a couple of moves here and there and stuff. And the guy's like, oh, Jesus. And that's just the reality of it. You never know somebody's full picture. So whenever you look at a physique and you're like, they look like that because of this thing they do. No, they don't. This is one of the things that I come up with a lot. There's an image out there of, of a sprinter and a marathoner
Oh yeah, of course.
juxtaposed. Everybody comes across, they're like, this is why you need a sprint. I'm like, I guarantee you that guy doesn't look like that because he sprints, and the skinny guy doesn't look like that because he's running marathons either. Like they're just from that one picture right there, I can pick up 5 other influences that are responsible for one thing, they're different people. So we're talking about different genetics. Second, the sprinter looks like he's in his 20s. The marathoner looks like he's in his 60s. Third, I doubt that marathoner is even lifting, and that marathon or the sprinter definitely is lifting. So I was like, you've got 5 other reasons there for the discrepancy in the physique. Sprinting probably has about that much to do with it.
Yeah, totally. No, that one shows up a lot. Yeah, for sure.
It's like, no, he doesn't look like that because he sprints. I promise you.
Yeah. And again, all these athletes are born before they're made anyway, right? Like they're literally have to have some built-in stuff. I always use the term, it was built in at the factory, right?
Yeah. It's part of the factory settings. Yeah.
Exactly. And, that's why they are who they are. And, that's why they've achieved what they've achieved, Usain Bolt or whatever, the best of the best guys. It isn't again because they used kettlebells or dumbbells or what their diet was. Those things are tiny fractions of the factory settings is a great way to put it. Right.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is you look at the guy who's sprinting, it's like, I can't really tell by the picture, but it looks like he's on a pretty high level sports team. Like he's a top level college athlete or maybe even a professional. Meanwhile, the marathon runner looks like he's just an average marathoner who probably has a day job. So you've got someone who's gotten weeded out of the process because anybody who reaches a high level of sport in anything has the factory settings to do that versus average marathoner. Like a lot of people have the potential to do that without any gifts or particular talents. They just have a ton of grit.
One of my clients just ran the New York Marathon, and he said there were 60,000 people running in that marathon. And there's 60,000 of them. Trust me, only a couple of them are running like crazy fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And
yep.
And every event you can think of, as you say, right. So a lot of people can achieve a marathon. It doesn't mean they're not setting any world records anytime soon, right? But they can learn to cover that distance, at some pace.
Yeah. Which goes along with the ideas, again, some of these ideas in our fitness culture that discourage people. So here we are is like, okay, that sprinter doesn't look like that because he sprints. A lot of it is, factory settings. So a lot of people might look at that and like, oh, great. So it's all genetics. Like I have no chance of being able to have an impressive physique like that. I got to be born with it. It's like, no, there's 60,000 people running that marathon. That is not an easy feat. That means that is a testament to how much we can change and adapt our body with the right training and the program. So don't be discouraged with, oh, okay, you've got to be genetically gifted to be a top level athlete. Yes, to be a top level athlete. But remember what I was saying earlier. You don't need an extreme outcome to develop beautiful strength. You just need some development at all in order to have it, which is much more accessible to everybody.
I've definitely been guilty myself in my life, as I mentioned, of seeing making that mistake of like I used to like to do sprinting for fun, like recreationally, but of course once I got into it, I'm immediately looking like, all right, what's the world record in the age group for, you know what I mean? and then I'm like, well, I'm nowhere near that, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, and then you think, well, I'm not doing good, right? But I think I'm in my 60s now, so I ran a 12.87 when I was in my 50s. It's not an Olympics, but hey, I feel I have to recognize that's okay. But at the time, I'm thinking, well, I'm nowhere near the world record. Like I'm always looking at the wrong place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a friend pointed it out to me because I was like, same thing. He was also a recreational sprinter, and he was like, why are you even thinking about that? It's like, just run faster than you did last time.
Yep.
He's like, I don't look at those numbers. I just look at my numbers, right? My opponent is the stopwatch.
Yeah. Being your personal best is what's better. If you can get to your personal best and that means you win an Olympic medal, awesome. If it means that you beat your buddy in a beer league, that's good too. It doesn't need to be an extreme. And like I said before, in most cases, the extremes are actually going to be compromising your beautiful strength, as impressive as it is. But I can't tell you how many pro athletes and even very serious athletes I've known who are like, oh yeah, I got to be a state champion. I got this and got that. And he's like, but I can't tell you how much that strain that put on my friendships and my relationships.
Yeah, or your body.
And I mean, when I was super, super serious, like I'll go to the gym no matter what kind of thing. People sometimes will assume, they're like, Matt, when you were getting in shape and stuff, you must have, had all kinds of attention from women and, gone on dates and gotten all, and it's like, no, if anything, it hurt like crazy. I had so many girls I pursued in college, and they would be like, no, absolutely not. You spend way too much time in the gym. Absolutely not. You're a fitness guy, where it hurt my ability to attract that kind of attention big time. And by the end of my college career, because I was so serious about it, I was like, yeah, this whole fitness thing has definitely been the ultimate cock block for sure.
Yeah.
It has not helped me.
My business partner, Jesse, was like that. He got to the point where he was so hung up with, his workout routine that he would like end up missing classes in college because it came down to like, am I going to class or am I going to get my workout in? You know what I mean? And he would default to the workout. You know what I mean? Like somehow he needed that 6 days a week, 3 hours a day workout. And he couldn't possibly miss a day because that would mess everything up, So he would end up like missing a class instead because like, hey man, it's chest day. You know what I mean? Yeah, I can't miss that, and he looks back and it's like, oh, what was I thinking? Now we recommend, to most of our clients, 2 30-minute workouts a week, right? That's like our bread and butter,
Yep.
And it works.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, diet and exercise is great. It's wonderful. It's empowering. It's transforming. It's healthy. It's all this stuff, as long as it just doesn't get in the way too much of other things. Because for the vast majority of people, diet and exercise should not be their top priority in life. There's a lot more important things. But what oftentimes compromises that attractiveness is when it is the top priority and you're not a professional athlete. You're not a fashion model. You're not a physique model and stuff. So now you're someone who is basically got another job. You have another job. Imagine that. Like, okay, I work 9 to 5 at this one job. Oh, and now I work another 40 hours a week at this other job kind of thing. People are like, you gonna have any time for me? You're gonna have anything for me kind of thing? And that's what always compromised my ability to just connect with people, especially when I was super serious in college. They're like, I don't care what shape your abs are. I don't care how big your biceps are. I barely see you. You're ignoring me. I was sick the other day. I called you up and you're like, yeah, that sucks. By the way, I'm out to the gym. She's like, it's like you didn't even care. So go hit the bricks kind of thing. And because I was my priorities were way out of whack. I'd rather be in the gym than spend time helping my then girlfriend get and feel better. And it's like, no, of course you dumped your ass.
So now, are we able to put a time frame on Beautiful Strength, or is it still?
Oh, Christmas. Let's say Christmas of this year. Again, I'm releasing it continuously right now.
Okay.
Like if you go on my YouTube channel, I've got several Beautiful Strength workouts that I've just released in the past several weeks right there. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you go on my podcast and stuff, the stuff in Beautiful Strength is already out. It's already being put out there, and more is going to be coming over the next several weeks.
Got it.
So it's coming out now. It's just not all out in one chunk, in one product. The finished product, hopefully, yes, by Christmas, by the end of the year. That's definitely the goal because, you get the whole new year, new me kind of thing. But it's coming out in a slow trickle format right now. Absolutely. And it's free. All that stuff is a free format.
Sure. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds awesome, man. So, I will look forward to hearing from you when the whole actual combined product is out and ready for action. But before then, we'll be able to have this episode. It'll probably come out in about 2 weeks from now. So, and I'll let you know when it's going to go live. And then, fantastic. I appreciate you taking some time to come back on and join me. It's good to see you and good to hear from you.
Good to see you too, Liam.
And it sounds like a great. I really like what you got going there. Just kind of combining all these things that you've been developing for so long.
Great. Thank you so much, Lane. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on your show again. Much appreciated.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. I was looking forward to it. Boom, baby. What's up, people? Thank you so much for listening to this episode of
Truth, not trends.
That's right here at TNT Strength Headquarters, Truth Not Trends.
Please, if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate, and review us on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And don't forget to share with a friend.
You can find us on the web at tntstrength.com.
That's right, TNT Strength now coming to you in person at 5255 College Avenue in Oakland, California. You can call the studio 510-768-5421. You can also text us at 855-796-9905.
Or shoot us an email at contact@tntstrength.com. And whatever you do, stay off of that stupid blue bubbly boasting.
Should we start recording? We're starting to get into the meat of this thing, or are we just...
We've been recording this whole time.
Okay, good.
Mixed and edited by Desmond McNeese for We Mixed It, LLC. Go to whatsoundsawesome.com.
Oh, I've been in here all this time and it was amazing. And you're like sucked into the story and then it just ends.